Good afternoon and welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz. That's right, it's tea time again and it's afternoon. But back in Kara's area, it is morning. So there is a time zone difference. So I'm going to share a little bit on Kara, and then Kara is going to share the amazing things that this woman is doing and what she's a part of. So Kara is creative artist, photographer, author, mother, surfer, lover, and peace seeker. She uses her photograph lens to understand and process her vision. She owns and operates a boutique creative service agency and supports the connecting and forward movement of businesses and organizations. She has a Master's of Fine Art degree and recently has been reflecting on how love, connection, humanity, society, and much else is embodied with fine art. As a sociologist, it is it is these process and systems, when done well, to support the individual and the greater good, that runs deeper within art, creativity, creation in itself. These are the natural rhythms that rhyme, that always moves humanity as it courses in the directions of beauty and contemplating wholeness. She recently launched a digital platform called the, the Inclusion. It is coming together for all of us towards the change we want to see in the world. And thank you, Kara Block, for joining me today in the studio. And I don't know what is up with my voice, but all of a sudden it just went all over the place. And that is just how tea time is, right? So, Kara, share with the viewers today your amazing journey on how it all began.
Okay, well, first, thanks so much, Liz, for having me. I love your tea times. It's such a nice, relaxed environment in order to share information and get to know one another. So, let's see. All began. I really believe it began in childhood and childhood development. And my parents got divorced when I was young, and I saw love kind of separate. And I spent the rest of my childhood and life really contemplating divide and separation and togetherness and all of these kind of big ideas that are part of the I think the process of being alive and really truly understanding ourselves and finding ourselves. And that's why I consider myself a process solution designer, because I'm constantly thinking about the intersections of human beings and health and the mind and the body and the soul and society and our political structures and cultural difference and how and masculinity and femininity and mothering and matriarchal behaviors and patriarchal behaviors, and how all of these things in the natural environment and the natural systems and wholeness and how these things intersect for optimal human potential. And so I think it started there. It really started with like a deep inquiry um, that came with a lot of needing to heal from areas that emotionally felt unsafe, um, hurt and trauma and pain, along with the beautiful. I had a lot of great education and great um, unconditional love and all sorts. It's not one or the other, right? So it's the
Well, you
balance of
traveled a
both.
lot. Like when you sent me your first bio, I was like, oh my goodness, this woman has been all over the world. Like amazing. So you've seen a lot of different things and different traditions and ways of life, right? Growing up.
Yeah, yeah. My mother, both of my parents were first generation Americans. My mother is Swiss, and so I have a Swiss passport. My grandmother was Swiss, and the rest of my parents were Germans. And they were German Jewish immigrants that had seen a lot of suffer and a lot of war damage. And it's not, again, not saying it's all bad. It's just that was the lineage. So yeah, so we were, my mom's very European, so I got a good travel start and a good really fascination with difference. And instead of conforming to um, what mainstream norms are, I was always, I had a ton of redheaded girlfriends and then male friends growing up. I just always was attracted to what was different because it was something new for me. And I think that what I've realized recently is that I have a tremendous hunger for knowledge and for learning, because I think the whole process of life is just about how we learn our lessons, how we learn ourselves, how we learn our partners, how we learn our children, and how best we can evolve in a space to make that the healthiest, best feeling, whole interactions, which takes a lot of self work and self growth. I mean, it's like just yesterday I had this reaction and I didn't understand why I was so upset about something that didn't really need. You can be upset, you cannot be upset. It's always a perspective. But I was having this reaction, and then I had to go back into my tool set. I've done yoga for 20 years. I lived on a meditation community that was a Paramahansa Yogananda lineage. And so I have all these tools, and I feel so grateful for these tools. And I had to go back into my tools and feel this uncomfortableness in my solar plexus and in my gut that is a reaction to a sentence as simple as, what was it? No, maybe we should look at this like this instead of this. And I went, oh my God, it's this dismissiveness. I remember I just felt so dismissed. And then going back into okay, how can I feel safe in my physical body and in my mental space with that feeling? Because that's not the truth that's happening right now. And so it's a whole process of understanding and seeking self and understanding self and trying to heal and release those traumas. And it's happening more and more. I think it's really coming out of the West Coast. I know a lot of amazing practitioners in California, but it's happening everywhere. But it's much different than it was 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's much more commonplace that, people aren't like, oh, they're meditating. It's like, oh, really? These CEOs are doing this? Oh, these mind mapping people are doing this? Oh, this is what's happening now? Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, it's
So
kind of
weird.
a lot of mixed messages, right? Because 20 years ago, when people were doing this, the yoga and that, like you said, a lot of people were like, oh, okay, little ooh. But now everyone is getting into it, right? And why is it now that it is getting into the trend? Why now?
Well, I think for many reasons. I think it's such a good question. I think that as a human species, we're at a lot of tipping points. Thomas Friedman wrote this amazing book 10 years ago called Hot, Flat, and Crowded. And now in talking about globalization and kind of these tipping point issues that we're reaching politically, economically, globally, environmentally, and we're there now. So we're at all of these tipping points where things are slowly crumbling, and we're all aware of it. So we're activated, and I think it's here now. That, and of course technology, being interconnected and being able to share all of this information for the first time at the level and capacity we can share it. And I think it's right on time for human evolution. It's right on time for what we're seeking, to feel good, to recognize what's toxic in our society, in ourselves, in our patterning, in our thinking, in our food, in our agriculture systems, in our political systems, and it goes on and on, right? Because again, I love this holistic nature. I think there's two things that make, a successful business, and this is some of the work that I do, and is actually from a friend of mine who does optimal human development potential work in Switzerland with politicians all the way to small businesses, and she has a metrics for this, and what she says is that there's systematic processes that work that we have to follow because it keeps some structure, and then there's holisticness. And those two things work together. And when I was in graduate school, it was always, well, there's art and there's science, and they're different, they're opposing, or there's man and there's woman and it's opposing. And it's like, no, there's no, and I remember writing on one of my graduate journals, basically a big circle with it, because I'm a visual, right, with an X through it, of the word versus, just VS dot, because it was art versus science. This.
Oh, did I lose you?
announcement that came through. There was a public alert announcement that just popped on my phone. That's very, that's only happened a few times. Anyway, I wonder what that's about. Yeah, so it was this idea that like things don't have to be set up to be in conflict with one another. Art and science work together.
Yeah.
You know, masculine and feminine work together. And these ideas, and I think the US is facing this in a big way in terms of the way our political structure is set up. Like a two-party system doesn't work. When you have one issue and you have a group here and a group here, and they're like,
Yeah.
it makes for non-functioning. So,
Yeah.
which means that it's a system that's not functioning, but it has no holistic nature in terms of its connection. And
Yeah,
so
I'm
that's
big
why
on that. I'm big on that as well, Kara. Like
Yeah.
I always say that with everyone. We need that balance, right? We need that good and we need that bad. And we need to work together. We need to make it work together. Because if we don't have it together, it doesn't work. And that's exactly what you're saying right now, is that, you know, if you don't have those two together, working together, there's no solution.
Yeah.
All we're doing is just fighting each other back and forth, right?
No, we're running the
So,
hamster. We're running the hamster wheel.
yeah,
To get nowhere and create a lot more trauma in the process. A
for
lot more
sure.
upsetness. It becomes a versus in the mind individually, right? People are fighting their own minds against themselves.
Yes.
And that's the next part. You know, that's where the photography comes in. It's the perspective. We are in choice, I believe.
Yes.
I believe it's a fluid existence, for one. And I could go much more into that, but maybe that's for another time. But, you know,
I'd love to hear about it. We're having tea. Let's talk.
Okay. We're getting into reality.
Did you want me to bring up your website to show some of your incredible work?
Sure, I would love that. I would love to then say this piece about perspective and photography. You know, when I was getting my Master of Fine Arts in Visual Communication and Photography, what we learned about the psychology of the eye and how the eye perceives, because it was about image making. So either process documentary, process storytelling, or advertising and marketing. And I just found that the camera was such a great analogy for life because it's our choice in terms of where our lens is, where our perspective is, what we choose to do with our time, what we choose to focus on, how much we expose, how much we're underexposed, what's light, what's dark, how we can bring that in more. There's so many references. And my favorite reference, I'll tell you my favorite reference after we do the website because it will lead us back into the fluid state of being.
There we go. And this is her beautiful website. So for all the viewers out there, we're on, I believe, the offers, right, Kara?
Yes. So it's karablock.com. And this is primarily my photography website. It also showcases all of the offerings that I do with photography. So, you know, there's brand design in that. I do it. It's what's called an image digital database, where I set up images that cover the entire needs of the business. As I said at the beginning, because I see these intersections and I like process, I can come in and get an organization or a business all their image content needs, which makes their digital marketing people, their graphic designers, and their marketing team very happy because then they have authentic content to work from that's actually from their business. So it has that transparency and authenticity connection for their customer. So that's one of my favorite offerings. But I also do, you know, branding design. I have a studio, so we do commercial stuff, we do product stuff, I do family. My family stuff is also a little bit different. It's about the family and child enjoying themselves together, the children and family spending time, not sitting down for a portrait shoot. So it's much more lifestyle. It's much more, we're all so busy. How about your family comes together at the beach and I just show up, basically, and let your children, let them play. And then I get the best content because the children just want to play. They don't want to be told they have to sit still, you know. And then it comes together because then there'll be the moment where they're so happy they're playing, they're tired, and they'll want some mommy love or they'll want some daddy love, and then they'll come in for it because it's time to get nurtured.
And
it's time
more
for water,
authentic
food.
as well, right? Like you're catching the actual live moment of a child enjoying. You're not saying, okay, 3, 2, 1, pretend. You know, you're actually getting that smile, that giggle. You know, it's amazing.
Right, and it's the same with my portrait work. You know, I love being with people and watching them and hanging out and then they're in a relaxed state of being, and so I'm the opposite of having it being overproduced. I'm really
So,
into the natural and authentic. The
and
whole.
you can see that in some of your photographs here, the real liveness and in the eyes and the movement. The pictures are being taken without even, being told to sit a certain way, move
Yep.
a certain way, smile a certain way. It's really incredible.
Yep. So
Some of
this
your
one, so the one with the little girl in the red and white shirt, we were in the subway in Boston going to the place we were going to go with the family when she just looked up, and that's the beauty again of perspective of photography. It's like I've been trained to see light. I'm a director of photography, so the light happens in all different ways and different times and different spaces, and it's just so much fun to not have it be preemptive.
Oh, and some of these baby pictures are just adorable. Like it is truly amazing. I like that you're creative. I really like creative backgrounds because I'm very creative as well as I see things in a different way. It's just like tea time, right? Everyone thought, okay, what is tea time? Well, I'll tell you what tea time is. It's just a friendly cup of tea. And that's all we're doing is just having a friendly cup of tea together and
Yeah.
sharing the amazing things that people do out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Kara, you also have written in a book, I believe, right? Last
Yes.
year?
Yes. Yeah, I was published in a book called Conscious Parenting. And it was a really, I mean, it was a mixed kind of spiritual experience for me, really, but creative experience for me too, because since I've my education's in visual communication, I've worked really hard to understand what media's effects are on the brain and media and advertising, marketing, and all of these things, which I love. But I also had a pressure. I have not so much anymore, but I've had a pressure to perform with it, which I've had to work on to make sure that I'm staying grounded and staying clear in my intentions and knowing that, bringing it back to a really simple form, instead of thinking about like Vogue covers, stuff like that, just really trying to pull back. And with writing, I never thought I was a writer, and I had no ego connection to writing at all. And so it was such a pure expression of what came out of me. And it was so healing to move through a creative process that really just like opened me. Because I have friends that are brilliant writers, but they're always talking the way about writing that I am about photography. Like what I'm going to do next is this, and then I need to do this, and I'm going to and it's the same thing where I am in photography. And I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Oh, I love that last thing you wrote. It's so great. And then I sat down and I was like, I need to tell this story because the story that happened with my son that ended up getting published is a full expression of what I'm thinking about constantly, which is that this is just the process of being alive.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the yin, the yang, the
See,
contextual.
I'm with you, girl, because I'm all about that. The good, the bad, the yin, the yang, the positive, the negative. I am with you all the way with this. There's a lot of things that you, when you sent me your bio, that I was like, wow, where does this woman get her energy from? Where do you find the time to do all the things that you do? You're such a busy woman. Like, how do you balance it all?
I think there's a real big illusion out there that you can do it all. And I think time is part of that illusion. And so I work a lot with what my perspective is on time and what my relationship is on time. And that goes back to the conversation about fluid existence.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I do it all. And I've had to really slow down in terms of my expectation of myself. I think COVID was really good with that. And at the same time, I meditate and I do yoga, and I dialed in my nutrition heavy when I turned 30. I made a bunch of lifestyle changes, and I got very educated through a medical intuitive and nutrition. I would call her a nutrition mystic. who got all of her stuff about healing through, a shaman that she met up in Alaska when she was on, some searching time in her life. And I regenerated my digestive system. And I started looking and learning about food as nutrients and food as medicine. And I think, to answer your question, that water, ocean time, and yoga, like breath work, pranayama, knowing that the only illusion is when we're running after time, but that the only thing we know for sure is that we're in the present moment. And the longer I've put intention and attention to being in that space, the more my life force has grown stronger with needing less. Like I normally need less sleep. I need less food. I never need less water, though. I always need more water. And then
And you have beautiful beaches down in California, don't you?
Oh yeah, they're great. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, when I seen that you were a surfer, I was like, you know what? That's something I've always wanted to try.
I really believe every human, deep down, when they want to connect and see surfing, honestly, it's a magical. You're utilizing kinetic energy that's coming from storm systems hundreds, if not thousands of miles away, that then converge with land and make an energy force that you're trying to capture or stay as close to as possible, right where that energy force is the greatest. And it is, again, it's nothing short of a spiritual experience. Surfing is my medicine.
And that's what I got when you sent me your bio, when you sent me your logos and all that, was that riding the waves. So we had said that we were going to talk about the inclusion.
Yes.
And that is something that you've created this year. I'm going to bring that up so you can explain to everyone what the inclusion is all about. And we're going to ride that on the airwave instead of the water wave.
Yay. I love all waves.
So I'm going to bring that up so you can let the viewers out there know what the inclusion is all about. Okay. I'm getting to know it as well, being with the Global Peace Challenge, and it is truly amazing how easy the site is to work and to get it up, and it's very clean and professional looking as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, the inclusion, you want me just to jump right in?
Sure, go ahead, jump in, girl.
Okay, well, the inclusion is an idea that I've been sitting with and brewing on for maybe 20 years. It's a resource hub to connect people to all of the work that's being done to move humanity forward. So what I'm finding is we have all of these amazing people doing amazing work. Yes. It can be across, environmental work. It can be child advocacy work. It can be sharing resources and information like you're doing and bringing light to people in terms of talking about what's happening. It could be about development aid and what's going on in Haiti and how badly they need help, or what's going on in Africa and or permaculture solutions. It's a range. There's so many people that have spent a majority of their life doing so much good work, and we're all and we're at a time where people are activated now, because it is getting to a place where the awakening and the rise is on. So everybody's activating, and it's so beautiful to see how people are really trying to seek self and seek connection and seek community and purpose and intention. And so it's now the digital age is here. So this is finally the digital platform that allows for that integration and inclusion to happen in one space. So it's an invitation social media hub that's embedded in my website. It is a space for organizations and individuals to show their best in show in terms of information. So I have ambassadors that are heading up each topic, and those ambassadors then we're inviting organizations and other individuals that are highly educated or interested in some of the topics. And then if you go to development aid or circular economy, And then we're providing information underneath the topics section. And there's topics when you're invited and you become a member, you can choose what topics you follow so that you're not inundated. And maybe we could even read through the topics. Would you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
So you want me to go to topics, right?
Sure. Yes.
There we go.
So do you mind reading the headers? Because I can't see with...
Okay, we have wisdom practice, mind and body and soul, optimal human potential, loving and protecting childhood, peace projects, integrating our special needs friends, community organizing, justice and equality for all, ancient insight for present living, development aid, urban development and civil innovation, circular economy, emerging futures initiatives, global partnerships.
Yeah.
And I'm learning some of these big words that if you would have met me 10 years ago, Carol, you would have been like, who is this girl today?
Oh, it's growth is so beautiful. And and that's another thing too. Like, I recognize that, like, I've had a lot of, even being able to travel as a younger person, and I worked hard for it in high school and after high school. But I just want to share all of it so that we all have the information. And I'm constantly working, to your point, Elizabeth, I'm constantly working on, like, let's simplify this. Yeah. Let's simplify this. But some of these topics are really difficult to simplify.
They are.
Like develop like future the future initiatives. What was that? Futurist initiatives? Like, these are groups of people all over the world that have different organizations that are coming together to do innovative think tanks where they're looking at different innovative opportunities for young people and people of all ages to merge government, policy, civic engagement, so how people get funds from the government, how the government works within local communities, social enterprise, which are businesses that are conscious about all this, and business. So we're looking at the whole intersection of how we make positive change through all of these structures and systems so that it brings more power back to the people, instead of a few being in power and everyone else saying we don't like the power structures at play. Development aid is the same. And my ambassador for development aid and emerging futures initiatives, he's a brilliant guy. He's in London. He's studying economics and, has an internship offer from the UN. And, like, we're trying to bring the best information so when people want to get motivated in their local community around energy, around healing, around mental health, around all of these big topics that are so important, but there's either these very large organizations that are doing things that are inaccessible, and we're trying to make it accessible so that each person, if they're motivated and they want to do something, we will find them support and mentorship, partnership, support in running their own groups. And those are called inclusion academies. But I'm not quite there yet in terms of merging those on the site. But yeah,
and this is a really easy site. So how do people find this site, Kara?
That's another great question. I haven't launched it publicly yet. This is actually my first launch of it publicly. I've really run it through the peace ambassadors.
Okay.
And I will be announcing it and launching it soon. So the best way to find it really is to go to karablock.com and send me a message if you're interested in becoming a member. Otherwise, I will be probably posting it. I don't use Facebook very much, but I'll probably be posting it on Facebook and running it through the network there. And it's really through the ambassadors right now and the organizations we want to involve and the sponsorships that we're looking for with different partners. That's how people are becoming aware of it right now.
So how many people are actually involved in the inclusion right now?
I think we have 55 members.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I would say 10 or 15 of those are peace ambassadors.
That is good.
Yeah. So it's moving along. It's moving along.
So is there anything else you would like me to share with everybody about the inclusion? Any
Yeah.
topic,
Yeah.
events, causes?
Yep, there's an events calendar that I actually have an ambassador who's running now. We haven't started yet, so I need to follow up with her. But the event calendar will be chocked full of wonderful, wonderful online things to do. So if you're feeling a little bit stressed, or you are feeling a little lost, or you're feeling a little down, or your patterning is cycling through again, and you feel a lot of human suffering around whatever it is, there will be a lot of outlets here in terms of mental health where you can click on things and find amazing resources. Similar with yoga. I have three of the best yoga instructors that I've found in the entire state of California who
Oh,
have
wow.
they're amazing, and everyone has online stuff right now. So I'll be putting them together, and all of their online stuff will be in the events, and all of their resources and their connections of online stuff. And I mean, it's from, yoga to how science and spirituality and art merge to technology and personal development and business to just breathing. And here's a great meditation. And if you want to go deeper, this is, my friends in Switzerland are doing amazing satsang meditations. If you really want to learn about existence and have a conversation with, basically, I don't like using the word guru because I don't believe we live in the time of the guru anymore. I think we did for a while. I think now everyone's their own internal guru. They have to wake up to their own knowingness and their own knowledge and their own magnificence, because we all equally have that and the capability to be and do that. I think it's just a practice of how we get there, and tools of how we practice to get there in terms of manifesting the most meaningful life. And I do that stuff too, which is fun and amazing, and it's just kind of life. But yeah, so if you want to go deep into having a conversation with the most spiritual human being I found on the planet, who has sat in meditation longer than anyone on the planet right now, and then he opens up and talks about existence and just fields questions, and it's amazing. You can add anything you want, so it's really the best in practice to get as whole and healthy and informed about how to use your purpose and activation to do positive for humanity.
For sure. Right. And you have to do the work yourself. You have to do the healing yourself. It comes from within.
That's it. We can remind each other and support each other and love each other. But we have to love ourselves. We have to choose us first.
For sure, right? If we don't choose ourselves, then we're fooling ourselves. We're putting a mask on, and that mask eventually does fall off, no matter how hard you try to keep it on.
That's so right. And that's why I love our friend Galit's work. The I Love Me project. I mean, it's everything right there. If we're not going deep into self-love, then we're expecting other people to do different things to meet our expectations, and we can't be in alignment with what's right for us in terms of our boundaries, and all of these things start to fall apart. And that's why Brene Brown's work has touched, I think, so many people, because she's talking about vulnerability and healthy boundaries and showing up for the hard conversation instead of putting the mask back on, right?
Yeah.
As if somehow we're hiding this darkness because we don't want anyone to see it, instead of meeting that darkness and being like, wow, I am light and I am dark. It goes back to the beginning. It's the yin yang of the process.
Yeah. The complete balance of life, right? We need the good, we need the bad to balance each other out. And if you think all good is the way to go, you're going to fall, and you're going to fall hard.
Yep. And we all fall, and it's okay.
Yes, we do.
That's part of the learning too.
And that's another thing, right? You need to fall to get back up. If you don't fall, you don't get up. So there's the up and down, the positive and the negative. You need both in life, And it's like a cup of tea, right? Today we're drinking like a cup of tea. It's smooth, and you have your good teas and you have your bad teas. Not all cup of teas are good. And we learn and we grow from the different flavors, the different blends, what we like, what we don't like, what works for us, what doesn't work for us. It's like a cup of tea, right? So for
Always.
you, Kara, what does tea mean to you?
Oh, connection, togetherness, pause. Um, mm. It also, tea to me means lineage.
Oh,
I
I
have a
like that.
I have a beautiful Japanese friend, um, and she's married to an Israeli man, and our kids were in Waldorf school together up in Silicon Valley for a little while. And the attention that the Japanese culture places on tradition and lineage in those ways, I've always been very drawn to. And so I remember when she served me tea, this was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I remember watching like the cups, the design aesthetic of the cups were just so, and they were simple but beautiful. And you could see her lineage in terms of sharing a cup of tea together. And I had a friend who actually had a tea shop as well. Oh my gosh, and I should send you images of the most beautiful tea shop that I
Oh my God,
found.
I would love it.
Oh, it's so amazing, Liz. It's wood floors and you kind of creak when you come in, and the whole thing's filled with all of these like kind of ancient teapots and all of these teas, and you walk up a circular wood
Oh
staircase. It's
wow.
so beautiful. And I photographed the whole thing, and I please remind me. I should
Oh
send those
my
to you
God, yeah,
because
I will for sure.
it would be a great little
That
marketing
is on my
background
bucket
piece.
list, is to have a tea room and give
Wow.
it Miss Liz's touch. I went to Perth the other day for some canoeing on the water, and I haven't canoed
Mm.
in over 30 years, so I'm still a little stiff. I had a couple ambassadors say, "You were a little quiet at the meeting on Friday," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm sore." um, but I had seen a beautiful tea shop in Perth, and again, it would have been nice to go into, but because of COVID going on, everything is closed, right? But window shopping is awesome. If anybody likes to window shop, like I'm telling you, you see amazing
Window
things.
shopping is on.
Yes, it
It's
is.
so nice to get on the water. Did you enjoy your canoe?
Oh my God, yes, it was gorgeous. We canoed for 3 hours. It was nice, and then we did go karting
Oh,
on
fun.
bikes, and that it was really nice. Yeah, I haven't done any of that in years, so yeah,
Mm.
we were a little sore, but it was nice. It was so calming and so peaceful, like really,
Mm.
really beautiful. We
Yeah.
have Mimi in the studio, and she has left a comment here. I'm not sure if you can see it, Kara.
Yes. So true.
So Mimi
It's
is
so true.
also an ambassador for Global Peace Challenge for England, and she is a committee member for the social committee as
Yep.
well, and
Mm-hmm.
on the on-site committee, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
On-site,
Yes.
insight.
She's on the on-site committee and she's the social media chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been
It's
fun.
amazing how the ambassadors have really supported us through our journey, this incredible project of Global Peace Challenge. It's all coming together. We're creating a friendship, a bond, meeting people that we would have never met. I would have never met you if we wouldn't have done the Global Peace Challenge together. I'm sure we would have met because that's how the universe works, right? It connects us for the people that we need. So I'm a
That's
strong
right.
believer on that. So if it wouldn't have been through Global Peace Challenge, if we really were meant to meet, we would have met another way. So
Absolutely. And it's beautiful how things come together, and that's the same, it's the same conversation as being activated. We
yeah,
end up where we're supposed to be, and how we're supposed to move forward. And I'm really interested in the support networks of that.
yeah,
We're supporting each other right now, and that's I think what you're talking to, is that we're
yeah.
really being able to see what other people are doing, and support the process of it.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And learning so
Better.
much. Like I am learning so much. Like I'm learning about countries that I didn't even know existed. I'm like on Google, where's that country now?
I'm
It is
loving that too.
amazing. And I love that when I read in your bio that you were you grew up in Switzerland, right?
No, no, I grew up in California.
In California, but
Yeah, yeah,
you
I have a Swiss passport, so
okay.
I'm also a Swiss citizen, and I've been spending a lot of time there over the past 5 years. I've been lucky enough, but I'm also
I
it's
was wondering how you and Gally got a picture together. I was like, how did that work? Is that Photoshop?
yes, yes, that was fun how that came together. It was nice to see her. Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
different there, you know. It's lovely to get the international perspective, especially with what's going on. Thanks, Mimi. We're grateful too. Um, the international perspective of, you know, what's happening right now, especially as an American,
Yes.
and what the U.S. reaches and has been globally, and all the implications of that, and where we're at now, and where health and wellness and wholeness and mental health is, and especially with COVID and what post-COVID is going to look like in terms of having to go inward, and how challenging that is if you haven't started doing your work.
Yes.
You know, if
For
it's
sure.
always everybody else's fault and it's always the blame game, then there's no
Yeah.
way to sit in that piece, because that's just an overwhelmed psychosomatic system. It's an overwhelmed, anxious energy that holds in the body and then comes out in you know, in toxic ways. So the idea of being peaceful, and then being able to see how the Swiss government has handled everything, and you know, again, going back to comparing and contrasting, right?
Yeah.
I talked about this yin and yang, or the, what I like to call the, you know, contextual duality. It's like, in order to know light and dark, you need to see light and dark and everything in
Exactly.
between. In order to be happy, you really need to see sad, because how else would you realize how much joy you're in if you didn't know how much pain you could be in too?
Yeah.
It's this contextual understanding, I think, that the human mind needs, and the Swiss government does a really beautiful job of keeping their people safe and holding a space that allows for like a normal society where people aren't questioning the government all the time, because the government's pretty much functioning for the people. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nothing's perfect and it takes time, but so it's been nice to spend time there.
For
There's
sure.
also a lot of water, beautiful, beautiful, clean water.
Uh, and I think that's something, when we heal, we love the water, right? The calmness. I know for me, when I need to recharge, the water. I need to be by the water. I need to talk to the water. I need to, and my boyfriend always tells me, "Oh, you're a little kooky. Like, why are you talking to the water? Why are you talking to the waves?" And it's almost like the waves, like the movement of the waves are speaking to us. You know, calm down, move a little faster, move a little slower. You know, there's messages all over. We just need to open our eyes and listen and hear
That's
them.
right. Deep
You know?
listening
Yeah.
to the
And
natural systems. Absolutely.
and it's like you said, we need to take ownership, right? The blame game only goes so far. It only
Yes.
go it only goes so far, you know. And we need to take responsibility as individuals and to make a change and to
Yeah,
heal
that's the word I
ourselves.
would use, is responsibility over ownership. Yeah, a
Yeah.
balanced sense of responsibility. And then in
For,
relationship, a balanced sense of reciprocity. Like, what does it actually mean to be in a balanced sense of give and receive? Right?
exactly.
What does that mean? And how do
Yeah.
we do that in a way where yeah, I mean, there's always so much to explore. But going back to your water, the water comment, you know, we're more water than anything.
Yes, we are.
And actually, there was a really interesting interview that I watched with a professional surfer and a physicist, and they were talking about um, the physics and science of water. And the physicist said, you know, it wasn't until 1960, I think it was 1969, where we went to space for the first time and was able to take a picture of Earth. And it wasn't until 1972 or 73 where we got the second picture of Earth. And if we would have named the Earth after those pictures, we would have named the Earth Ocean.
Oh,
And I was just, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my God, her name's Ocean. She's not Earth. All the other planets in our solar system have Earth, but none of them have water. None of them have ocean, and that's what makes life. And so I started really thinking about this, and I thought, how brilliant. And you know, and I've spent a lot of time in the ocean. I mean,
yeah.
she's been my greatest teacher. And I know that when I'm present, um, I know there's a relationship. There's a living relationship
Yes.
between how I'm moving and how the water's moving. And that goes back to the
Do you
fluid
notice that
state
when
of
you're by the
existence.
water, when the wave goes, your body kind of, you know,
Oh,
I've
yes.
paid attention to that. Like if I'm by the water, really close to the water, my body will actually wave like the water of the water waves. And I'm like, why am I rocking? Why am I wave? Oh, okay, the water.
You're tapping in deep. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remembered I remember a few years ago that I started feeling these like pulses in my day when we talked about energy. So I'd
Yes.
cleaned everything up, detoxed a bunch of that stuff, and I would start feeling like a push in energy and a receding in energy. And I realized, I went to a practitioner friend of mine, and I realized that I was functioning with the tides. I was
Oh,
moving with
wow.
the tidal changes. So when the tide was pushing in, I was having this push of energy. And when the tide was receding, I was going into a more receding space. The expansion and contraction is another great little analogy that I like.
And
So
it explains why your logo has that water.
why? I'm sorry. One more time.
Why your logo has that color of the water and the sea foam gray, green, gray.
Yeah.
I love the calmness of that that picture. And that's why I had to
That's sweet.
bring it into your poster was the calmness of the waves, because when you sent me that I was like, I need to add more waves. This girl needs waves. Like there's just I feel waves with
I
her.
do.
Like I feel a
I do need
connection,
waves, Liz.
you know.
You don't know how badly I need waves. And it's crowded. It's
Well,
crowded
I'm giving
here.
you some waves, so
You
that
are.
helps you a little, right? So
You are.
We have a question from Mimi for you.
Okay. It takes, yes, I travel back and forth from California to Switzerland, a little less now with COVID, even though I've traveled a few times during this time, and it's been totally fine. Um, yeah, I travel back. I've spent the last 2 years, I've spent about 50% of the time in Switzerland and London and
Oh
California.
wow.
So I've split my time. And the inclusion started there. There's a organization I helped found called Inclusion and Community,
Okay.
and it's a nonprofit out of Switzerland. And it is to integrate our disabled friends, and actually special needs friends, not disabled friends, our special needs friends into everyday life in a deeper way. So that's been moving. And then we started the inclusion hubs in London with Community Energy, which is the basically the root of how power comes back to the people with alternative energy. Community energy is a way in which local governments and local people can engage where people have more power in choosing the green energy and where energy comes from. And so, and that's a whole conversation I could talk about.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the root of how to bring power back to the people with financing is participatory budgeting. It is the main way that governments and people will work together, where people have a say in local policy about where their budgets are going in their communities. Otherwise, people don't have any power on either of those two fronts. And we need a lot of power on both of those fronts in order to see the movement we need with the dollars that are there, because there's sufficiency. We're not living in a scarce world, but most people's mentality is a scarcity mentality, but we're in sufficiency. There's plenty of money to go around. There's plenty of food to go around. It's that the corporate structures have moved in a way and monopolized and gotten so powerful, and then manipulate so they get even more powerful. And it leaves everybody else in disarray and
Yep.
in having to pick up the pieces in toxicity. Now, the beauty to that is that then we have to dig deep and rise. And that's, I believe, where awakening and consciousness really starts to grow. So I'm fascinated by watching it all. I
So
just want to be.
how long does it take you from California to
Oh,
Switzerland?
well, direct flight, LA Zurich is, it can be 9.5 to 11, depending on the winds.
Oh, that's not
But
too bad.
no, not at all. Lots of good movies. And I mean, after having a baby and having a child, just being able to sit for a few hours and read or work
Yeah.
or catch up, organize my notes or whatever it is a treat. It's always a treat. I mean, it's such a privilege to be able to, I think, to travel
So
and see other.
you balance your time half and half, right? California
About
and Switzerland.
I was before. Yeah, we did a lot of London the last year.
A lot of London.
Yeah. Um, with trying to move inclusion hubs forward and energy, really trying to, trying to bridge the gap of how do we actually educate and resource with so much going on, with such busy schedules and with so much out there. And that's really why I love the inclusion so much. I'm like, oh, I can just compile it into one place. And then the people that are active can participate just in the ways they want to, or all around, or just receive the information, or maybe just even make the connection with somebody else who they know who's thinking about, how they can have more say in their local governments or whatever, clean water, or, there's, there's so much has been done. I could just start rattling off. I could just go and go and go. I'm not joking. With like amazing solutions that you would be like, wait, what? What? This mushroom is a non-toxic way to solve ant problems? Wait, what? This mushroom cleans up landfills? Oh, you mean that plant on this can clean up this? It's like there's solutions out there. There have been people working on this for so long, and I'm always amazed that they're not implemented at larger scale. So I think that's my end goal, is that those solutions can be implemented at larger scale with large development aid dollars, so that people that are individually can be empowered to do the work that they're doing. Because we need everybody. Everybody who's doing it. We need all of us.
Yeah, we need to work together, right? There's no I in team. We all need to work together. We all need to find solutions and work together. And it's like you said, like if the negative and the positive are bumping heads, there is no solution, right? If the yin and the yang are not joining, there is no solution. And that's where politics, they bump heads. Instead of working together, they work against each other. My way is better than your way. My way is, and that's the ego-ness needs to go. It needs to go. We need to just all work together and become one. And I really, really am impressed with this inclusion, and I'm slowly learning on how it works. I like how it's so clean and so all in one place, right? Because there's so much out there, and then we get an overload, and we're like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? It's like even with Facebook, we get an overload. There's so much coming at us. We're like, okay, we got this group, we got this group, we got this. Okay, And I find that that's what's happening with technology. We need to put things into one big thing, like a hub. And if you like this thing, you go to this way. If you like this way, you go to this way. Mm-hmm. Instead of, okay, you have 50 different groups. Yeah. But I don't have time to do 50 different groups. Put these 50 groups in one spot, and then I can check them out when I have a chance,
Yep. And that's what I'm hoping to do, is to really make it clean in that way. So you're not going through, oh, well, this person, it's great to see my friends' kids and my families, but I don't care about what someone's eating. And I don't care about a lot of the content that's running through Facebook or the perspective. And I think because we're so polarized right now, and because media is going through this, like, what is truth stage, so that basically authoritarian governments can take over, because everybody's just spinning in chaos, which I believe is the point of what's happening right now from the top down. So at that point, it's like, okay, well, where can we go for solutions? I have a friend who's got a great business called The Daily Optimist, and they send out just positive solution-based news every day. And he's been at it for 5 years with Deepak Chopra's support, and so there's so many people doing so many good things, and it's like, okay, well, let's just expose that more, so that people can come and have a breath. They can come and get educated if they want to, or pick up information, or maybe just come because they need a breath and they need a refuge, and they want to go and have a great meditation. And there's one that's happening tomorrow, or there's a yoga online. You hop online, and then you don't go down the rabbit hole of the internet. You land on a page where you're resourced well, where there's like a great asana that you can sit and do and start thinking about how important it is to be conscious of our breathing. Like that alone. What is it to be conscious of breath, and to breathe with that intention, because without our breath, we wouldn't be alive. And we take it for granted because there's so much going on, and it's so quick, and our systems are so overloaded, and the cortisol is releasing, and then we're, our stomachs, and then we get unhealthy because that kind of anxiety breeds toxicity and disease.
Yes.
And you know, and I've also found I spent a lot of time thinking about like what wakes people up. You know, like really like what was it for me that kept me moving even when I thought I was more whatever than I was and still needed to keep, because it's always this process. We're all the same. It is always an ongoing process. But the perspective with the tips and tools makes it a gorgeous experience in every now moment, right? So how do we make that go in longer chunks? But I remember thinking about like, why is it that people, what makes people wake up? What made me start to wake up and continue to wake up? And I think when that toxicity really sets in the body as people get older, then it becomes it's always about health and wellness. It's I'm not healthy, I don't feel good, or I get sick. And then finally they're like, oh, well, you say this homeopathic works, does it? I'm at my last straw. And then it's like, well, homeopathics work amazing, but they work as a preventative measure. So if you're at your last straw, they may not work as good.
Yeah.
But now you're opening to that. How interesting. How can we open sooner? And can we do that by sharing information? Can we do that by showing community? Can we do that by showing love instead of blame? Can we do that? How do we do that? How do we include everyone?
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with one last thing. So
yeah, I was just going to say, and your final words for this tea time, and then we're going to close you up, and we're going to get you out there. I know we could talk forever. I'm like that. I was like that with Mimi too. I wanted to just keep going and going. I get some people on tea time and I just forget, oh my goodness, no, I need to watch my time here. There's viewers out there and they're probably saying, I have other things to do. So go grab another cup of tea.
That's funny. Yep. I told you, no shortage of words.
There we go. So your final words, Kara, what would you like the viewers to, your final words?
I would like to just share these 3 concepts of what I think humanity is experiencing. I think we're going through the great unlearn, where we really have to question the systems at place and how they support us or they don't support us, or what we've been told, and the paradigms and structures that we're living within that are not true, and start to question what those are. So the great unlearn of coming down from believing that questioning the system and what we've been told. I think the second is the great transition, which I think is the coming back to self. It's really the acknowledgement and transition back into, if I'm looking at all of this and this isn't real, what is real? The now moment is real. Who I am, my connection to deep listening and spirituality is real, or whatever spirituality may be for you. Doesn't matter. Whatever that deep connection to root is and to existence is. And then the great inclusion is the next step, is how do we support and love one another to help share the information, share the practices, so more people can experience and understand what that coming into center is, what that healing is, and share and remind each other, so that we can go do really good work in the world.
Awesome. Yeah. And if anybody would like to get a hold of you, Kara, where can they reach you? KaraBlock.com
is the best place. Yeah, drop a line. Or Teatime Creatives is my boutique creative agency that focuses more on brand strategy and professional and personal development strategy for businesses and organizations. And advertising. Awesome. I love advertising. Yeah.
So if anybody would like to know more about Kara, I'm going to put all of the incredible things up there. I'm going to add your website and that into the comments, and people can check you out. And we're going to close this tea time up, and I will see everyone on Thursday for a huge event that is coming. We are having a reunion tea time with some of the ambassadors that have been on in the beginning. And then I will have a second reunion show where Kara will be on with other ambassadors that have been on after this tea time. So check out Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I will have 12 amazing ambassadors. 11, including myself, is 12. So we will have 12 beautiful people, and there will be highlights throughout the next few days, where I will be highlighting each of these ambassadors in a special way and giving them thanks for being a Tea Time guest. So I'm going to close up Tea Time with what Miss Liz is all about. And I thank you again, Kara, for joining me today. And we will see you Thursday.
Can I read what I got on my tea bag for our tea time?
You sure can.
Okay. It says, life is a flow of love. Your participation is requested.
Oh my goodness, I love it. And thank you so much, Kara, for joining me today for tea
Thank you
time.
so much, Liz. I so appreciate it.
This is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah, this is tea time. Yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Yeah. Tea time.
Thank you for joining me, Miss Liz, for tea time. Making a difference, one cup of tea at a time.